Welcome to IDD Talks. My name is Anastasia Lavrina, and today in our studio we have a very special guest, Ambassador of Hungary to Azerbaijan, Tamás Torma. Hello and welcome to our program.
Hello, Anastasia. Thank you very much for inviting me. It is a pleasure to be here at IDD Talks.
Thank you. Thank you so much. We have several specific questions for you about the bilateral relations between our two countries. Just recently, the Minister of Foreign Affairs and Trade, Peter Sietro, visited Azerbaijan. It was quite a significant visit. The sides discussed many issues related to energy, economy, cooperation, and I guess you have some exclusive information to give us, to tell us today. And I would like to start with a general question. What is the reason for such an rapprochement between the two countries and the growing interest in the development of cooperation?
Yes, thank you very much for your question. First, let me begin by saying that there is a rapprochement and there is an interest in developing our cooperation. But this rapprochement and this interest is nothing new. It has actually very deep roots between the two countries and the two nations. Let me shortly recall that with the Turkic nations, we have very deep contacts throughout our history. Throughout our history, debates emerged whether the Hungarians are more closely related to the Finno-Ugrian people or the Turkic nations. One thing is for sure: we had throughout our history, before we came to the Carpathian Basin, very intensive cooperation, very intensive contacts with the Turkic nations, and this is part of our heritage. This is part of our identity. We cherish our common linguistic, cultural, and historical roots. Now, coming closer to present date ties between our nations and our countries, our interstate relations and our diplomatic relations have a history of more than 30 years. And throughout these 30 years, we have achieved really a lot. Hungary has continuously supported the territorial integrity and sovereignty of Azerbaijan. We have established strategic cooperation between the two states in 2014. And in 2018, we joined the Organization of Turkic States. That time it was Turkic Council as an observer member, which contributed to a lot to our bilateral relations with Azerbaijan as well. And during the visit of His Excellency President of Azerbaijan, Ilham Aliyev, January this year, this cooperation was elevated to enhanced strategic cooperation. So we really have a very intensive cooperation, and it has a deep roots in our history. So I can answer by saying that yes, there is a rapprochement, but it's nothing new. It's already a history.
Indeed, Hungary, as an observer in the Organization of Turkic States, is also being considered as a door to Europe for the Turkic states. Being a member of the European Union, at the same time, you rightly mentioned, Hungary has a very well-developed relations with all Turkic states due to its historic background and roots development, but also due to its modern policy, which is being implemented in a partnership with members of the Organization of Turkic States. So I totally agree with what you are saying. As I said before, Minister of Foreign Affairs and Trade visited Azerbaijan, and he stated during his visit that Azerbaijan is a target country, a strategic partner of Hungary. How would you characterize the bilateral level of relations at the political level and the security matters between the two countries?
Yes, now this time I would not go back that far as I did in my previous answer. I would just like to go back to the visit of the President of the Republic of Azerbaijan to Budapest in January this year. Yeah, like I said, our relations have been elevated to enhanced strategic partnership. And within this framework, although we are closing the first half of the year, we had really a lot of visits, more than 10 ministerial or equal level of visits between our countries. So this means that the legal and the political infrastructure of our relations is there. We have very intensive cooperation between the two countries in state level. The fact that there is a direct flight between the two capitals also facilitates the civil context between the two nations. and the two countries. Where we really have to develop our ties, our cooperation, I believe, is the field of economy. And when I talk about this, I have to recall that Hungary is a relatively small economy with a very export-oriented structure. Our rate of export to GDP is above 80%, which means that we are very export-oriented. But at the same time, the war in Ukraine or the COVID pandemic severely hit the Hungarian economy. Despite of this fact, the Hungarian economy and Hungarian export hit all-time records in the last year, even in the first 4 months of this year. Last year, our exports totaled 142 billion euros, which is an incredibly huge amount, because you must take into consideration that Hungary, population-wise, is around the 95th country in the world. But export-wise, we are ranking 35th in the row. So you can imagine how important export is for Hungary. And in the last period, period of time, it has been established that in order to increase our exports, which is a must for the growth of our economy, we have to bring production capacities closer to the target markets. Only this way you can really further increase exports and achieve new results. And the project that Minister Szijjártó has announced recently, a bit more than a week ago when he was in Baku, is a very good example of this, this phenomenon that I have described. So a new project of a new plant of Hell Energy soft drink company was announced. The company will have a capacity to produce almost 800 million bottles, aluminum cans in its future plant, which means it can distribute its products. It can fill the soft drinks into these aluminum cans, and they will be able to distribute their products not only to Azerbaijani domestic market, but also to the regional markets throughout this plan. So this is a very good example of the success story which Azerbaijan-Hungarian relations are actually. And I believe this project will also become a success story itself. So I just described this example in details because it's a very good example of our thinking, very good example of our relations, and that's why Minister Szijjártó called Azerbaijan a target country, because the example of Hell Energy drink company shows that with countries where the Hungarian government has strategic relations, like Azerbaijan, Hungarian companies can make a very good investment on rational basis, on rational calculation.
Indeed, we will also speak about the Hungarian investments a bit later, but now I have another very important question about energy. As we know, by the end of this year, Azerbaijani gas will be delivered to Hungary. Mm-hmm. And I would like you to tell us more in details on how the process is going and how exactly Azerbaijan helps to Hungarian energy system, energy security of this country.
Yes, indeed. I have described how our relations have developed and how intensive our relations are. And the field of energy is no exception, of course. And energy cooperation is a very important part of our relations between Azerbaijan and Hungary, but not only bilaterally speaking, but also when we speak about energy security of Europe as a whole. So last summer, an agreement has been reached that Azerbaijan is ready to increase its natural gas production twice by 2027, which means that it will contribute to a large extent to the energy security of Europe. And
I'm sorry for interrupting. I guess we should also remind that a year ago, on July 18, there were that energy agreement signed during the visit of Ursula von der Leyen to Baku. Mm-hmm. And the signing of this, I would say, historic document with President Ilham Aliyev. It was held on July 18, a year ago. So we
Yes.
have this interview in a very important time.
Yes, thank you very much. And when we talk about Hungary, we think that in order to increase the energy security, to diversify the transport routes of energy, Azerbaijan is the best choice. It's a very logical source of energy. We are not talking only about natural gas, but we can mention the Black Sea submarine cable, which is electricity cable under the Black Sea. So we are not talking about only hydrocarbons. But when we speak about energy routes, we believe that the natural gas from Azerbaijan can come through mostly from Southeast Europe, which means that we have to think about the infrastructure in this part of the world. And this is, like I said, Azerbaijan will contribute to the energy security of all of Europe. So this is a European issue. We would like to see much higher and more serious and financial commitment on European behalf, on the behalf of the European Commission, in fostering and encouraging investment in the energy infrastructure in this route.
I guess when you said about those very important project which unites four countries, I'm saying about that Black Sea electricity cable. I would like now you to tell us a bit broad about this bilateral energy cooperation between our countries, Azerbaijan and Hungary, and how it also brings more regional integration between such countries as Romania, Bulgaria, Turkey, Serbia, Greece, and Slovakia for the future development.
Yes, exactly. So just recently, a bit more than a month ago, Hungarian MVM company and SOCAR of Azerbaijan signed an agreement under which 100 million cubic meters of natural gas will be transported to Hungary till the end of this year. And hopefully this is the beginning of a much broader project. We hope to acquire up to 2 billion cubic meters of natural gas from Azerbaijan, which is a very considerable contribution to the energy consumption, natural gas consumption of Hungary. And like you had mentioned, and like I have also touched upon this issue in my previous answer, energy transportation requires the cooperation of many countries on the route. And indeed, it encourages regional cooperation. When we speak about transport of Azerbaijani natural gas, we see that the most logical and most feasible way is through Turkey. So hopefully Azerbaijani natural gas will be transported through Turkey, but also we have to talk about and we have to mention the transportation capacities in the Balkans. We welcome the fact that last year the Greece-Bulgaria interconnector has been opened. And we hope that new interconnectors will be opened along this transit route. And I also would like to mention that less than a month ago, Hungarian MVM company and Serbia Gas, the Serbian gas company, have agreed to set up a joint venture about the transit of natural gas. So really, like you have mentioned, a lot of things happening and regional cooperation is developing. But we need, like I would like to emphasize, we need investment in the infrastructure.
That's for sure. The next question which I'm going to ask, that's very interesting. Hungary does not intend to abandon Russian energy sources. And it was a key question for discussion between the European states within the last year. At the same time, Hungary, as we already discussed, is investing a lot of time, financial source for the developing energy partnership with Azerbaijan to find an alternative energy sources. How is it possible for a European country to balance in this very difficult geopolitical situation?
Yes, indeed. The situation is very difficult when we talk about energy security, but I must say one thing very clearly. Energy security is something that has to be thought about in rational terms. So when we say that Hungary does not want to interrupt energy supplies from Russia, we are saying that this is not a question of political taste. This is a question of physical reality, because we are a landlocked country and natural gas is flowing to Hungary from Russia through pipelines, which we cannot change overnight. And also, we would like to continue pragmatic cooperation, energy cooperation with Russia in the fields which do not fall under sanctions, of course. Because energy security of Hungary cannot be ensured without natural gas sources from Russia. So when we talk about energy diversification of sources and transit routes, we do not mean to say that we want to change one dependency to another, but by energy diversification, we mean that we want to have as much sources and as much transit routes as possible, as much cooperation as possible, and this will increase our security. This goes to understanding, this goes for Hungary, and it is also true for Europe as a whole. I would like to add that I have mentioned that energy security is a question of physical reality. We already have to think about the next winter period, which is already approaching, although we are in the middle of the summer, but we have a few months left. And there is no guarantee that the next winter will be as mild as it was last year. We can say that we were lucky, but there is no guarantee that it will happen the same way. So what Hungary has done, we have already filled up our reservoirs, natural gas reservoirs, up to 40% of our consumption capacities. It is very important to differentiate. It is not the capacity of our reservoirs, it is in ratio to our consumption. So 40% of Hungarian yearly consumption is already being stored, whereas the European average is like 23%. So this is a very important measure that we have taken to ensure the security of energy for the next
This is a very pragmatic approach, and coming back to what we already discussed, by the end of this year, Azerbaijani gas will be also delivered to Hungary. So it seems that you are getting ready to the winter. Doesn't matter how it's going to be.
Our government is doing its best. Yes, exactly. And of course, when we are speaking about energy security, I have spoken much about natural gas, and we have mentioned the Black Sea underwater cable, but we also should not forget about nuclear energy. There is a political or ideological kind of activity against nuclear energy, but we see that the way we see it, that without nuclear energy in our mix, energy security cannot be sustainable in the long term. And I would also like to add that Hungary is one of the few countries, maybe the only country, I'm not sure, but one of the few countries for sure, that has managed to increase its GDP while at the same time reduce its carbon emission. We are committed to zero carbon goals by 2050, and we are also committed committed to reducing carbon emissions and increasing clean and sustainable energy, which can be nuclear sources, by 2030.
And green energy as well. I guess green energy is another sphere where Azerbaijan and Hungary can cooperate more closely even.
Yes, exactly. Green energy is very important, but I would like to repeat what I have just mentioned a couple of minutes ago, that we see that energy security does not mean changing one source to the other, or one dependency to another. We would like to diversify our energy mix, and of course, green energy plays an important role in that mix, especially if we take into consideration the climate goals. But we also have to consider that nuclear energy is still the most reliable source when we talk about long terms. Of course, under current technological conditions in green energy, there are different periods where we don't get as much energy as we want to.
Right, Mr. Ambassador, we already spoke about energy, about economic cooperation, and you several times mentioned transport, logistics. Will be nice to know your opinion about the middle corridor, its potential, perspectives, and the necessity.
Yes, indeed. The middle corridor is a very important project, a crucial project. To our understanding, which is a cornerstone of our foreign policy, we believe in the cooperation and the division of labor between East and West, and we believe that the economic growth and sustainable growth of the European economy can be achieved only through cooperation between East and the West. And of course, this goes to Hungary as well. Like I have mentioned, we are a very much export-oriented country. Our export to GDP is above 80%, so foreign trade is very important for us. Therefore, our government in Hungary began the so-called Eastern opening policy in the early 2000, beginning of 2010, and we see that the middle corridor is a very important link between China and Europe, and without this link, this distribution of work between East and West could not be realized. And if you take a look at the map, we can see very easily that the middle corridor is resembles very closely to the ancient, or we can also say not ancient but new, Silk Road, and members of the Organization of Turkic States practically line up on this route, and therefore Hungary is very fortunate on one behalf, but it's not fortunate. It's a rational policy, continuation of rational policy on our behalf. That's why we have initiated the Eastern opening policy, of which Turkic countries, in which Turkic countries play a focal role. So OTS members line up on the new Silk Road, and Azerbaijan is in the middle of this corridor. Therefore, we see it as a very important project. Yes, you have also mentioned that Hungarian economy is very, very much integrated into the Western economies. We have attracted really huge investment, considerable amount of investment from Western countries. But as our economy is export-oriented, we are interested in further developing our commercial ties with Eastern countries. And Hungary sees itself as a future trading hub in our region. So therefore, we are committed to establish and improve our cooperation and make use of the middle corridor.
Indeed. So we speak about investments. That's a very important issue for the development of the economy, energy. And as far as I know, Azerbaijani economy is quite attractive for the Hungarian investors. Mm-hmm. Why do you think Azerbaijan attracts so many attention from Hungarian companies and investments who are keen to invest for the future development?
Yes, indeed. Azerbaijan is a very attractive country for investors. You began your question by saying why does Azerbaijan attract so much interest from Hungarian companies? So since Hungary has been mentioned, I must begin by saying that We have in our relations that I have described before in this interview, we have very intensive cooperation between our states, but there's also an emotional background. So we feel, I think goes both ways. So our nations feel very close to each other. We understand each other very easily, well, not in the linguistic sense, because even though we have common roots, we don't understand each other's languages, but we understand each other in a symbolic way. So there's an emotional background, but on the other hand, of course, Azerbaijan has a very strategic location in this region, and also in the wider region. Azerbaijan can be seen as a gateway to the wider region, to Central Asia, and further to the east, and also. Like I have experienced here during my stay in Azerbaijan and throughout the contacts I have made, that there are really very good possibilities for investment because of the incentives that Azerbaijan is provided, making use of its very strategic location.
Right. We started our today's discussion with a very important question regarding the visit of the Minister of Foreign Affairs and Trade to Azerbaijan just recently. And I would like to end our conversation with another very important question on the role of Hungary in its assistance on the restoration which is taking place now in the liberated Karabakh and East Zangezur. Please.
Yes, Hungary has continuously supported the territorial integrity and the sovereignty of Azerbaijan throughout its 30 years, and after the liberation of Karabakh, Hungary was the first country to announce its interest in the reconstruction. So actually, we have taken part in all rebuilt Karabakh exhibitions in 2021, 22, and we are preparing to be here with our companies in this year as well, in October. And indeed, there are very promising negotiations going on between relevant Azerbaijani authorities and Hungarian players, and I am very hopeful that we will be announced to announce positive results in this respect. I would also like to add that the restoration of the liberated territories, reconstruction of liberated territories, we do not see only as a business opportunity or purely as something where we would like to construct houses. Of course, this is very important, but we understand that there is a very broad and reconstruction and revival going on. So therefore, we see it in a humanitarian context as well. For this matter, we were the first country that has announced its commitment to the demining of the liberated territories. Hungary has been present at the demining conferences of ANAMA. We are in close contact with ANAMA, demining agency of Azerbaijan. So I would like to recall my visits to Agdam, where it was very depressing to see the devastation the destruction that took place in that part of the world. But on the other hand, there is something positive one can feel, and it is the energy, the commitment, that the willingness to rebuild Karabakh. And like I have mentioned, we do not look at the reconstruction of Karabakh only as a business opportunity or only something that concerns construction of houses, which is of course very important. But we would like to add, and we believe we can have an added value. We would like to add our vision of the world, the way we see the world, the way Hungarians see the world. We know that there are plans to build a green zone in Karabakh, which is a very a good initiative. For this matter, we have organized 2 exhibitions in Baku. One is Wonders of Nature, which reflects how we see nature and why we see protection of nature important. And the other exhibition, photo exhibition, was about Hungarian architecture, which we also see as a vision, as a way how we see our environment, because architecture is a kind of reflection of our vision of the world. So therefore I believe that we will be able to give our added value when we start to cooperate in the reconstruction.
Indeed, Mr. Ambassador, thank you. Thank you so much for joining IDG Talks and sharing with us your thoughts and opinion. It's very valuable. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.